In a distant dimension called the Dual Terminal, there existed a planet that was rich with sentient life of all manners of shapes and forms. As life evolved complexity, different races and tribes began to develop among them, peacefully, until each started to encroach upon another's territory. This was when strife broke out across the land. Tribes were founded and forgotten with the ebb and flow of time. No one knows how many perished and disappeared from eternity throughout this planetary conflict, but it was easy to know that the number was far too high. Eventually, power fell to 4 tribes that together controlled nearly the entire world: X-Saber, Mist Valley, Flamvel, Ice Barrier. These were the names that struck fear into the hearts of the smaller tribes that were struggling to just get by. One could only hope to survive by being on good terms with one of these 4 tribes. They were colloquially dubbed as the 4 Great Powers. X-Sabers were dwellers of the desert, made up of a ragtag band of proud warriors that proved to become immensely formidable together. No one dared to venture into the arid desert, let alone with the threat of facing the X-Saber army along the way. Led by their fearless commander, Gotams, the X-Sabers fought in countless wars and have waged many more battles. The army is absolutely loyal to his cause. Gotams is seeking to expand his tribe's influence beyond the desert and rise to become not only the greatest leader of his own tribe, but of the entire world. He is a man of great ambition and said to be the greatest warrior amongst the leaders of the great powers. In a head-to-head duel, it is unlikely that there is a single person amongst the 4 tribes that could defeat him. Of course, war is not but a single man's game though. Mist Valley is the great power hailing from the Windy Valleys. Their tribe is founded on strict principles of honor, a code by which they abide by. At times, this strains their relationships with the other tribes around them and has led them into conflicts more often than not. But time and time again, despite having their honor tested, they remain true to the spirit that drives their tribe. Their venerable leader, Mist Valley Thunderlord, has endured times of strife throughout his life and is an experienced and capable leader. In contrast to the warmongering conquest of the X-Sabers, the Mist Valley are not interested in expansion. They prefer only to preserve their tribe's homeland, but will staunchly defend themselves if necessary. Coming from the near uninhabitable isles that are constantly plagued with volcanism, the Flamvel managed not only to persevere, but they thrived through the power of their mastery of the element of fire. The Flamvel were the newest and last addition to the Great Powers, and as a result, they are the most inexperienced of the 4. Despite this though, the Flamvel are in no way weak. Flamvel Urukizas, their leader, has magnificent control of the element of fire. Even though he may pale in raw power compared to the leaders of the other tribes, the cunning of his wise advisor, Flamvel Magician, has won them many victories. Not to mention the fact that Flamvel Magician has incredible magic all of his own. The magician's charisma and wit is what has allowed the young Urukizas to forge his tribe among the 4 great powers, making a name for himself in the tribe. For the other tribes, though, the true man to be feared was not Urukizas, but the magician himself. Lastly, the tribe of the frigid and icy tundra of the north. The Ice Barriers were the oldest of the 4 great clans. They were a tribe made up of not only powerful warriors, but also very skilled magicians as well, whom had access to the most terrible of powers. As the oldest of the great powers, the Ice Barriers had not but one leader, but were led by a triumvirate of 3 generals. Generals Raiho, Gantala, and Grunard were co-leaders of the noble Ice Barrier tribe. Arguably the most powerful and largest tribe in the entire world, they almost could have been called a nation, the Ice Barrier Nation. It was said that they likely possessed the might to defeat even an alliance of the 3 other great powers, but this could never be fully known. The Ice Barriers were not an aggressive tribe. They were not conquerors, instead seeking only to preserve the nation that their forefathers had founded and left to them. Beyond the vast power of their army, they had the additional aid of a mysterious ally to their cause. Despite his ever-present assistance to the ice barriers, though, he never called himself one of their own. He seemed to be more interested in his own ends, whatever those were. It just happened that they aligned with the aspirations of the ice barriers. The four great powers were in constant skirmishes across their borders, often causing collateral casualty to the smaller tribes outside of their domain. Even in persistent conflict, none of the tribes were able to overpower one another, and thus chaotic equilibrium was maintained in the world. Despite war being ever present, it was never on a grand continental scale. Battles erupted only on the borderlands, often far away from the general population's eyes. It was only when wounded clansmen returned that the image of war became all the more real. Life existed this way for many years, with children growing up being trained to fight. Whether as warriors, tacticians, or magicians, every tribe was well prepared for the chance that an all-out conflict would break loose. Thankfully though, such a war never took place. Their preparations would not be in vain though, for it was fortunate for all of them that they had been prepared for a full-scale invasion of their homelands, because that time did eventually come. It was not from any tribe on their home world though. The four great powers were about to be put to the greatest test in all of history, as a sinister meteor was making its way to their distant planet.
Go, Toms. I'm going now. Take care of the tribe. I have the utmost faith in you.